Nokia has unveiled the replacement for the best-selling E71 and E72. This is the E6, the fifth Symbian 3 device. The screen's the usual 2.4 inches, but this time it's VGA resolution and effectively, by Apple standards, a Retina display. It's really quite impressive if you can live with the overall screen dimensions. The keyboard's similar to that on the budget E5, and the overall touch and type form factor very similar to what RIM is apparently planning for their Blackberries. The E6 is an 8-megapixel EDOF camera with the ability to record 720p HD videos, 8GB of mass memory, micro SD card slot, the very popular 1500 mAh BP4L Hero battery, integrated GPS, pentaband, 3G and all the other usual smartphone specs. Slightly less interesting, in that we've seen most of it before, is the X7 with a 4-inch AMOLED screen plus the same 8-megapixel camera and Symbian 3 specifications. Distinctively, it has a stainless steel design with inset corners. Note it doesn't have 4 speakers. Along with the Nokia E6, the X7 will be one of the first devices to ship with the Symbian Anna software update, due soon for existing Symbian phones. This update brings enhanced text entry capabilities, portrait QWERTY and split-screen text entry, an improved browser, a fresh icon set and numerous other performance and usability improvements. HTC has launched the rather large Sensation with 4.3-inch screen, dual-core 1.2 GHz processors, the newest HTC Sense 3.0 and Android 2.3. There's an 8-megapixel camera with 1080p HD video recording and HDMI output, and the screen is notable for a very high 540 by 960 resolution. I'm looking forward to this one. At its Mix event, Microsoft showed off the next version of Windows Phone 7, version 7.5, due out in the autumn, apparently and at long last with multitasking for third-party applications, plus deeper access for apps into system functions. It's still not clear which version Nokia will be building on. My bet's on Windows Phone 8. As you all know, Mozart was a famous painter back in the day, which is why the name was chosen by HTC for their flagship camera-toting Windows Phone 7 device. What's that? Mozart was a composer, not a painter. Oh, well, probably just as well, because the 7 Mozart does much better at music than it does at photography. Never mind the Xenon flash on the back. It's complete rubbish. But more on that in a moment. What we have here is a pretty straightforward Windows Phone 7 smartphone, except that it's now been updated to Microsoft's Nodo update, which means copy and paste of text between applications and slightly smoother performance all round. I've been waiting until this update had appeared before reviewing the device, since I really wanted to say nice things about it. And indeed I can to a degree. Yes, look past the budget LCD screen that washes out in the sun, look past the typically HTC tinny speaker. This is a pretty well built 130-gram smartphone that sits nicely in the hand with 3.7-inch WVGA display, 3.5mm audio out on the top and micro USB data here on the side. Though no micro SD slot, Windows Phone 7 doesn't support expansion discs at all, so you're stuck with the built-in 8GB for everything. For a media-focused device, this is actually quite limiting. The main thing you'd use flash memory for, of course, is storing media, albums of music, like this one, and a selection of videos. But you will have to be selective in which music you load on, all via the Zune desktop software, the only way to transfer media to the 7 Mozart. Don't worry about videos, though. You won't be loading one of these on at all, because it takes forever. Each has to be individually transcoded at snail's pace by the Zune software before it's even allowed on the device. Very slow. Music works quite well. The 7 Mozart has dedicated audio hardware and Dolby Mobile, so the phone's name actually works quite well here. Sadly, the earbuds supplied in the box are cheap and nasty in the extreme. You'll be wanting to use some of your own headphones here. Videos do play quite well once transcoded, but it's a bit of a format cheat, in my opinion. Surely in 2011 you should be able to plug any phone into any desktop, see it as a disk, and just drag and drop videos onto it. Which brings me to another moot point. Plugging in any of these Windows Phone 7 phones into a generic desktop, Mac or PC yields absolutely zip. Nothing. They only work locally for media transfer through Windows and Zune Desktop. No doubt Nokia will have something to say about this when their engineers arrive on Microsoft's campus. All your data goes via the cloud, of course, up to a Microsoft Exchange server, Windows Live or even Facebook, with email handlers for other popular mail services. Here's my Gmail, for example. Each mailbox becomes its own app entry and can be pinned to the start menu, as here. This is very great fun to reorganize, but the panels are mainly static and very underused when compared to Android or even Symbian. HTC Hub is as pointless as usual, but it's easy to get rid of from the home screen. HTC has included at least its own high-quality version of YouTube, as in a client, so it's not all HTC doom and gloom. I've said for some time that Windows Phone 7 isn't really fit for phone show viewer power user consumption. The Nodo update here, which appeared recently, has improved things slightly. I found myself rather enjoying the Windows Phone 7 experience, up to a point. Ultimately, I got fed up with the constant delays while third-party applications started up over and over again. Even Twitter takes 4 or 5 seconds still. The built-in Windows Phone Marketplace can take up to 10 seconds, depending on what you've been doing. Microsoft have got to implement some sort of really good multitasking, or at least smart app restart like Apple did. Not to mention all the other existing aforementioned limitations, like not being able to Bluetooth content to other devices, something that will really frustrate the man in the street. But the highlight of the 7 Mozart is supposed to be its 8-megapixel camera. The lens is nicely recessed and protected, which bodes well, plus there's the reassuring sight of a Xenon flash nestling beside it. There's a dedicated shutter key here that can neatly wake the device from a locked state. Here are some good examples of photos taken in decent light. Looks good enough, don't they? But look closer and we can see that the camera sensor is actually quite cheap and noisy, and there's massive post-processing going on trying to reduce noise and then sharpen up the image again. All these black lines here are artificial and not present in reality. Have I been spoilt by using the Nokia N8 and N86? Possibly. Or maybe this is just not a very good camera phone. But even HTC can't mess up Xenon, surely. I mean, this is a super bright flash technology that guarantees frozen moments in time. Or maybe not. This is supposed to be crisp and sharp. This is a typical dad dancing at party Xenon moment. Here's a crop of the same shot, taken at the same distance on the Nokia N8, also with Xenon flash. A huge telling difference. HTC might well have not bothered. I can't believe an LED flash would have been any worse. The one saving grace of the 7 Mozart's camera is its video performance, capturing at 720p. It's typical phone capture quality for 2011, but it does have continuous autofocus, which helps a lot in real-life use. This is something I very much welcome and is appearing more and more in phones now. Sadly, a limitation in Windows Phone camera app means that the 720p setting is itself lost and has to be manually reset every time you go back into the camera app. Quite unforgivable. Look, this is a competent Windows Phone 7 device with all the operating system's known quirks and strengths. The fluid interface, Pocket Office, Xbox integration, a decent set of third-party apps. There's quite a bit here to like, but sadly there's an equal amount to dislike, and both HTC and Microsoft have a long way to go in terms of hardware and software before I can wholeheartedly recommend devices like the 7 Mozart.